Hey, good morning. So good to see you. You got the whole team assembled?
Excellent. I see we've got syrup, we've got yogurt, we've got strawberries. Let's get it together.
So, I don't know, man. You think we go with a choice cascade or do a more traditional SWOT analysis? Yeah, I think you're right.
It's good to see you again, sir. What would you like today?
Let's see. To drink, I'll have that cup of water that's been sitting on the counter for 2 weeks and is getting a little funky. And do you have any specials today?
So today we have a charcuterie board, which Chef is doing with a handful of goldfish crackers, 6 random peanut M&Ms that were in the bottom of the snack drawer, and 2 granola bars that no one will eat because they're past their expiration date. For our entree special today, we have your daughter's cheeseburger that she insisted on ordering off the adult menu instead of the kids menu and only took 2 bites out of. And that is microwaved, and it's being served with some soggy cold French fries. Very nice.
I'll do the leftover surprise, and what if I ask you something personal?
Sure.
They say if you talk to yourself, you're either rich or insane. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm certainly not rich, so...
So, questions of my sanity, or lack thereof aside, let's talk a bit about working from home and how to mitigate some of those challenges of effectively spending a lot of your time alone, maybe with your dog, sitting at home and interacting with people mostly through that two-dimensional portal of a piece of glass sitting in front of your face. Now, I've been at this game for a while, having worked from home in some way, shape, or form for going on a decade at this point. And these tips have worked for me. As always in these types of videos, take what works for you, modify what you see fit. Hopefully you get a nugget or two out of this. And as always, drop something in the comments if you agree, disagree, or have some great idea you'd like to share with other people that are in this situation. So first tip I'll give you is find your personal rhythm. And what I mean by that is I think each of us is wired to be productive or kind of be in a flow state at different times and under different circumstances. For me, I'm totally money from the hours of like 6:30 in the morning to about 11-ish / lunchtime. And so based on that, I try and plan the work where I require the most focus. I intentionally block off 90 minutes or so each morning so I can take that time where I'm at my best, where I'm my most creative, where I'm my most focused, and apply that to tasks where I need that level of creativity and focus. So I'll try and schedule the bulk of my calls after lunch. I'll try and fill those gaps after lunch where I'm flagging a little bit. Maybe I'm not feeling kind of at my most performant, and I'll do administrative stuff. I'll fill out timesheets. I'll go through the stacks of junk mail in my office or things like that. And then I'll try and schedule those things where I need to write, I need to put together slides, or just do something that requires that I'm firing all cylinders first thing in the morning. Maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you rock and roll from 10 to midnight. So maybe that's the time where you want to schedule that creative time, which could be very nice because maybe that's a time when other people aren't working and you naturally get that lack of interruption. Use the fact that you don't need a particular facility or sort of standardized working times when you're working from home to your advantage, and try and schedule those creative tasks around your natural flow state. Second tip, and I talk a lot about this on this channel, but make fitness a part of your day when you work from home. And I'm going to define fitness, very loosely, very liberally. Probably the only quasi requirement I'd put on there is try and make it fitness that's outside. That could be walking your dog. That could be taking a 15-minute walk at some point. And the reason I'm so focused on doing something outside, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a Scientologist, I'm just some big dumb animal on the internet. But everything I've seen, everything I've read, there's this consistent theme where I'm getting sunlight, getting movement, and it's just this incredibly cheap, incredibly easy way you can improve your well-being, improve your mental state, do all these wonderful things that counterbalance some of the challenges of working from home and kind of being to some extent disconnected from society. For me, the easy activity is running. I've prattled on endlessly on this channel about running, so I won't bore you with that now. But again, make it a walk around the block, 10 minutes with your dog or yourself, or even put in some earphones and go to a conference call while you're walking around your block, getting a little sun exposure, getting some basic movement in, and getting out of your house and getting a little bit of a change of scenery. I think that can be a huge and underestimated boost to just your kind of mental state as you kind of go through your day. Third tip I'll give you is create some structure. And one of the challenges of working from home, I think, is that there's a tendency for structure to be either created for you or for you to be in this kind of perpetual wait mode, sort of playing catcher in the game of corporate baseball, where you're sitting there waiting for someone to plop something on your calendar, waiting for those people in their office to get their crap together and conference you in, or, waiting for one of your collaborators halfway across the world to schedule that meeting or send you that document or whatnot. And that's not a great place to be mentally or, professionally for that matter, where you're constantly sort of in receiving mode. And anytime you're trying to get some focus time in or do something that sort of advances your own agenda, somebody can lob a grenade into your workflow and you kind of have to drop everything. Now, specifically, some of the tools I use to create some of that structure, and the first one sounds a little bit goofy as I relay it to other humans, but it's been very effective for me, is I kind of have regular scheduled meetings with myself. And again, saying that sounds moderately insane, so maybe going back to the premise of this video, we'll see where that lands us. But at the beginning of every week, I sit down and I go through a structured process and I kind of look at all the projects I'm doing. I look at the activities I want to complete that day. I plan out when I want to do things throughout the week. I look at all the meetings I have scheduled. I'll block out time where I might need some focus or some productivity, depending on what's on my plate. And I'll essentially review the state of my world, for lack of a better phrase. And this is typically a 15 to 30 minute process, so it's pretty lightweight. It's not that involved. I do a lighter version of that every morning. That's basically open up my task list, see what I didn't do the previous day, see what I want to get done that day, look at my calendar, and balance the two out. If I have too many things to do and there's too many meetings, I can either try and reschedule a meeting or I'll push out some of those tasks so I don't fall into that cycle of constantly having an endless to-do list to the point where it's so overwhelming you just stop looking at it and it no longer is an effective tool. Once a month, I'll do a little bit more of a deep dive into this process, and I'll look at things like my professional and personal goals. I'll try and build some of that into what I'm doing each week. I might look at all the projects I have on my plate and try and find ones that have stalled out and figure out what I can do to get those back on track. Or, something has stalled out, maybe it's no longer relevant. I can archive it, take it off my plate, and get it out of my, sort of mental awareness and free up some space for some other stuff. A lot of this process is based on various books I've read. I think I've talked about building a second brain at some point. I'll put a link to that down in the show notes, but that's been a little bit of the source of my weekly and monthly review process. And I've tweaked it and made it something that works for me, as you should do when you explore any of these productivity tips. Next up is I would suggest being fairly relentless with your personal schedule and your calendar. I talked about that doom loop where you're essentially playing catcher as people lob grenades into your life when you're working from home, which can be an easy mode to get into. And the way you avoid that is you take control of that calendar that can be a tool of oppression, or it can be something that you use to make your workday more effective. There's no law that I'm aware of at any corporation against blocking time for yourself. Every day I will block, depending on what I've got going, between 30 minutes and sometimes up to 3-4 hours where I need some focus time based on what I'm trying to do that day. That can be difficult doing it the day of. So generally I have a routine block based on when I get my kids ready for school. And again, in that morning time when I'm most focused and at my peak. And when I first did that, I had to reschedule some stuff. I had some standing meetings I had to move around. I had some people complain and say, every day you're booked from this particular 90-minute block. But now people figure that out and are able to work around that. And I think if somebody calls you out on it and says, hey, every morning from 9 to 10 or every evening from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., you're always blocked, there's no problem in saying, hey, I've reserved that for focus time. If this is an absolutely mission critical meeting, we can go ahead and schedule that during that time. But typically I'm unavailable during this time because I'm trying to focus on the work at hand. Next tip I give you is sort of the bugbear of working from home. And that's the fact that if you let it, working from home means you're essentially living at work. You can end up working 24 hours a day. You can end up responding to emails at all hours. You can end up sitting at dinner with your family with your head buried in your phone, or perhaps even as bad, although less obvious, your brain still at work trying to figure out some problem or figure out how to put those slides together. and you're mentally not there despite physically sitting down with people that you love and enjoy spending time with. And the response that I've come up with to that is make after hours work a two-way street. I haven't had much luck with being really prescriptive and saying, my working hours are 8 to 6 and I'm not going to respond to anything or do anything outside those hours. That doesn't particularly work, especially since I have a role where I need to work with people around the world and it's just not feasible for them to always adapt to my schedule. And also there's certain things you need to get done from a personal perspective during those normal human working hours of, say, 8 to 6. There's doctor visits, there's, kids' events at school. So I try and make my working hours a two-way street, meaning there's going to be times where at 10 at night, I've got to be on a call with Asia for an hour, and I'd rather be sleeping. I'd rather be spending time with my family or something like that. But conversely, there's going to be days where at 10 a.m., I'm at some school event that I wouldn't be able to otherwise attend if I worked a conventional schedule and spent most of my time in an office somewhere. I'm pretty fast and loose with this approach. I don't sit there and tally up, hey, I spent an extra hour after hours doing something, and I'm going to spend an extra hour during the day doing something else. I assume it all kind of washes out at the end. If you need to run to the dry cleaners at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, go ahead and do that. If you need to take that 30-minute call at 9 p.m. on Thursday, go ahead and do that. And unless you find yourself getting into that mode of working around the clock and living at work, I find this to be a pretty effective arrangement. The penultimate tip I'll give you is try and build in some transition or decompression time between working and being at home, particularly if you have a family or other people around you. And this is probably still the biggest challenge for me, working from home and kind of keeping my mental state in a optimal position. And that's because essentially I'm working right down the hall from everyone. The kids come home, it's dinner time, I'm trying to finish something up, and you kind of hit save on that last document or send on that last email. And then you've got like 3 seconds between going from work mode and work brain into, in my case, dad and husband mode and, hanging out with the dog and all of that stuff. And that can be a bit of a jarring transition. I find when I'm at my most stressed working from home, it's when I don't have an effective transition time and I'm kind of bopping between real life and work life throughout the day. So to the extent you can, build a little gap between those. In particular, when I start my day, I generally do it in the morning before the kids wake up. I have some time to make coffee, sit down, I'll look through email, maybe catch up on news and some of the work-related Teams messages and things like that. And it's this nice ease into work. The kids will then wake up, we'll make breakfast, and I kind of have this stage transition into full-on, I'm sitting down, I'm cranking, I'm getting stuff done mode. End of the day is a little harder, but when I'm being thoughtful or if I'm dealing with a particularly challenging day at work, I'll go and, even if for 5 minutes, take a couple of laps around outside and just use that to clear my head, try and shut down all the various noise in the brain related to work and shift myself into family mode. Because I am very conscientious, and I'd suggest it's a worthwhile goal of being both physically and mentally present with the people around you when you're done with work. I don't want to sound preachy on that because I'm a frequent offender of having this bag of bones sitting at a table, but my mind is off in some other country trying to solve some work-related problem, and that's just not a good way to live your life and not really fair to the people around you or to yourself, because ultimately, hopefully you've selected those people and enjoy spending time with them and eventually aren't going to have that opportunity anymore. And I think what I try and do is think through, hey, those PowerPoints, those presentations, those work problems, they're going to be there until the day I retire effectively. But time with my teenagers is eventually going to end. They're going to go off and have their own lives. So let's maximize things like that. Even if they seem routine, even if that work problem seems really pressing and like the world's going to end, try and value what's most important and going to ultimately be something you won't get to experience again. Final tip I've got for you, and maybe this one seems a little obvious, but I'm going to try and give you some creative ideas here, is see where you can build in some in-person interaction into your work from home time. An obvious solution to that is go into the office once in a while if you've got one local like I generally do. If you get the opportunity through your company to go out and travel to different sites or go and meet some of your colleagues in the real world, take advantage of it. I'm as loath as anyone to jump on an airplane and go through all that hassle and nonsense. but I try and do it at least once a month or so, just to get out in the world, go and see some of my colleagues in person, see some of our company's sites and, what people are doing, and just keep that connection to the organization where I work for. If you're somebody that has a small business, and I was in this situation for a number of years where I had, a 3-person company where we were scattered all over the country and never really got together in person, there's also some other alternatives you can do. One thing I did when I was in that situation was I started a lunch club in our neighborhood. And if you're in, a typical suburban neighborhood where they've got an HOA and they've got some sort of community organizations, I went and put something in the community newsletter and said, hey, if you work from home, once a month, we'll get together and we'll have lunch at an area restaurant, and, no particular agenda. I think the basic rules were, come when you want, everyone sort of splits the tab, and, no selling each other on stock. And it was kind of fun. I met other people that worked from home. We talk about what kind of work we do. We build some human connection, get out of the office once in a while and chat with other people and just have some sort of sense of community. Something like that may already exist in your area. As working from home has become more prevalent, I've heard of more of these types of groups spouting up. So, that might be something that helps you get out of the house a little bit, meet some new people, talk about the challenges and tribulations of working from home, and have a little bit of a community, even if you don't necessarily have an office or workplace that you can go into physically. Now, hopefully you found some of these tips helpful. Remix them, take them, throw out what you don't like, combine them, and hopefully something in here helps you. I think working from home has been a boon for me. It's not without its challenges like anything in life, but if you do it right, it can be rewarding, it can be fun, and it gives you the opportunity to make an occasional goofy YouTube video and then get back to your day job. So with that, this is a Big Heavy wishing you all the best and just enough sanity to keep yourself on the rails. Peace.